For now on, new format on my YouTube site. I've been asked by somebody who means a lot to me, and I was taught to never disrespect an older female widow, to do some videos without language. So I'm gonna, but I'm gonna also do them with language. This is one with language. Be advised.
The mayor of a village that was emptied of its residents following the accident at Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant is ready to start again. Yuko Endo is the leader of Kawauchi, which is located in the evacuation zone around the damaged facility. He's telling his citizens to get ready to come home.
That proves, do they give a fuck about their own people? Fuck no, they hate their own people. They hate themselves.
Japan's central government lifted its entry ban restrictions on 3 municipalities within the 20-kilometer evacuation zone effective this month.
The Fukushima fucking lying creepy motherfuckers that they are in Japan, the Japanese lying creepy fucking pieces of shit who are playing fucking Russian roulette with the entire fucking world could go fuck themselves, every fucking one of them.
Part of Kawauchi village is outside the no-go area. Still, almost all of its approximately 3,000 residents fled after the Fukushima accident. About 2,700 or 90% haven't returned. They're worried about radiation contamination and about getting work.
Why? Because the radical far-right fucking evil fucking mentally ill, stupid, dumbed-down, ignorant motherfucking teabagger Republican pieces of shit that you fuckers are.
Mayor Endo and other people who work for Kawauchi are trying to show they're ready to welcome citizens back. They held a ceremony Monday in the old village office.
You evil, lying motherfuckers over there, TEPCO, the Japanese government, and the fucking media, you make me fucking sick.
The mayor formally appointed employees to their new positions. The village government has had to operate outside the evacuation zone until recently.
Everything we do is for our citizens.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
We can move forward step by step to rebuild our village so that it returns to what it was.
Well, you know what, fuckhead Gucci? Now that they're testing 37 times for fucking cesium levels in the fucking freshwater trout in Japan, why don't you go over there and put up a fucking picture of people fishing, you phony fucking piece of shit?
Mayor Endo plans to build homes in parts of Kawauchi that have been determined safe.
How creepy has the fucking media become? How creepy has the mainstream media become?
The village is pressing ahead with the contamination work and job creation to be ready for the residents' return.
Fake, creepy motherfuckers just like the rest of these hairspray pieces of shit.
Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda says he will place top priority on safety in deciding whether to restart 2 idled nuclear reactors in western Japan.
The Fukushima fucking lying creepy motherfuckers that they are in Japan, the Japanese lying creepy fucking pieces of shit.
The 2 reactors at the Oi nuclear power installation in Fukui Prefecture are currently offline for scheduled safety inspection. Most of the nuclear reactors in Japan have been suspended for safety checks since last year's accident at Fukushima Daiichi. This has raised concern over possible power shortages. Noda told an upper house committee that meeting the country's power needs should not come before safety.
You already took all our fucking money, you phony, fake fucking pieces of shit, by letting these banksters off the fucking hook, white-collar crime legal. Now you want to fucking take what's left from us.
原発の再稼働については、これはあくまで安全性のチェックというのが最優先だろうと思います。
He said the opinion of local residents will be taken into account before the decision is made on restarting the reactors.
The Japanese government has set stricter standards for permissible levels of radioactive cesium in food products. The authorities want to further emphasize safety. Local governments have begun checking food products based on the new standards. Screening started Monday throughout the country after the new rules came into effect on the previous day. The government is calling on 17 of Japan's 47 prefectures, including Fukushima, to conduct periodic checks of radiation levels in food products. Other local governments are carrying out safety checks on their own initiative. The health ministry says 4 prefectures have reported the results of their inspections. None of the products tested exceeded the new limits. Under the stricter rules, common food products such as rice and vegetables containing up to 100 becquerels of cesium per kilogram can be sold. Baby food and milk with up to 50 becquerels can be offered to the public. And drinking water must not show readings above 10 becquerels. The central and local governments will not allow food exceeding the permissible levels to go on the market. An NHK survey shows 21 prefectures of Japan have stepped up screening measures to meet the tighter standards. They're doing so by such means as introducing additional checking devices.
Because no one but its leader can make important decisions.
Let's talk about the fish markets of Japan. I have a very close friend who I went to college with, who I don't know how she's alive. Brilliant, genius. She called me 2 days ago and says, Kevin, the fish markets, there's documentary. Nobody is buying fish from Japan. Nobody. They're buying anything they can get their hands on. They're not drinking their own water. They're importing all their water. Where's the fish that's being caught in the Pacific off the coast of Japan or the inland trout, which tested 37 fucking times? Not, oh, it's slightly over the government limits. Twice the government limits. Oh my God, that's 37 fucking times by the mainstream media, credible fucking media, fucking media that's been confirmed over there.
The Pacific coast of northeast Japan is famous for its seafood, including sea urchin and wakame seaweed. That changed in an instant when last year's massive tsunami battered the region. Slowly but surely, life is returning to these fertile waters.
Yasuaki Kagi has been charting the changes to the underwater environment off the coast of Iwate Prefecture over the past year. Kagi is a professional photographer who specializes in marine life. Since the tsunami, he has visited here several times. His first dive was just 3 weeks after the disaster. Kagi's pictures tell the story. An entire house swept out to sea, with clothes still visible in the closet. Wreckage scattered across the seabed. And no trace of the fertile fishing grounds.
I was expecting to see plenty of underwater life. That was the first time I've ever come across a seabed so devoid of life.
Throughout that first dive, Kagi came across only one fish. It was a tiny lumpsucker, just 5 millimeters long.
There it was, right in the middle of this lifeless ocean. It made me realize that living creatures could return here. I really wanted everyone to see it.
By last December, Kagi could see a definite change. There were sea urchins growing on this wrecked car. He saw tide pool gunnels, greenlings, sculpins. In all, he spotted more than 10 species of fish. By January, it was clear that new life was emerging in these waters. Kagi saw a sculpin hovering over some rocks, protecting its red eggs. He was now confident that the sea was returning to its former richness. The boat Kagi has been using for his dives is provided free of charge by the local fisheries cooperative. He has built up a strong rapport with the local people. The fishermen are overjoyed to see that their fishing grounds are starting to recover.
It's been a real surprise to see in the photographs how well underwater life is recovering from the disaster. I'm more optimistic about the future.
In February, Kagi gave a presentation for people living in the area to show them some of his recent photos, including the sculpin with its eggs.
It made me happy to know fish are returning to these waters, even after the tsunami.
His photos show us how resilient life is in the ocean. They've also inspired us and will help us get over the stress and trauma from the disaster.
I want as many people as possible in Iwate to see my photos so they can understand how much life in the sea is recovering. I'm going to carry on taking photographs here.
And Kagi hopes that magazines will publish his underwater photos so that people around Japan and the rest of the world can see how the Tohoku coast is recovering.
Fact, they're pulling the plug on food inspection. The only people in the world that will fucking touch Japanese fish with a 10-foot pole, they're doing documentaries. She says you go into the fish markets where they're used to be packed without, there's nobody there. Japan isn't even eating their own fish. They're importing fish from here in the United States. They're importing fish from everywhere they get there. They're drinking water. They won't even drink their own water.
The 3rd of the 4th, 2012, and this is today's climate change update. Grab some coffee and buckle up. It's going to be a long one. Let's go ahead and get started. SOT.net tonight. Unexplained triple mystery booms rattle houses in northern region of France. They're reporting large booms, sonic shook houses, that kind of thing, and also helicopter noises, but of course the military's denying anything. So another mystery noise happening in Europe. Flood damaged Fiji linked to war zone, or likened to war zone. Damage was extensive. They declared a state of emergency. Very, very, very severe storm. Los Nevados National Park closed over volcano alert. Central Colombia authorities closed the national park Sunday after an increase in seismic activity of the Nevado del Ruiz volcano. And again, this volcano's been gearing up for a little while now. That's about all new they have going on today. Over to the Extinction Protocol. Mother Nature's latest attack on Japan. Strong winds. Out of Tokyo after a winter of record snow and avalanches, not to mention last year's record strong quake, mega tsunami, and a series of powerful typhoons, Japan is once again being battered by the elements. This time it's wind. A low pressure system that landed on Japan's main island of Honshu Tuesday was brought to typhoon force winds and rain, even snow. In anticipation of the worst of the storm, the Japanese Meteorological Agency called an unusual emergency press conference Monday and issued a strong wind warning for Tokyo and neighboring prefectures. And stories go on. I got a couple more I'm going to cover later. Mantle Plume El Hierro Island struck by 2 small tremors, or El Hierro. This is the volcano on the Canary Islands. Still seismically active. Still the jacuzzi goes on, that kind of thing. Very much so, this volcano is not done doing what it's doing. 4.0 magnitude earthquake strikes Oklahoma. The earthquake shook southeast Oklahoma at 2:33 a.m. Tuesday, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. The quake was centered in the town of Pittsburgh, about 16 miles southwest of McAllister and 109 miles southeast of Oklahoma City. Very fracked area, and again, no telling what's really going on with that. That's about all new they got going on besides the war drums and the economy crap. Over to the watchers real quick. A tropical storm whips southern Vietnam. The first typhoon of the northern hemisphere in 2012 typhoon season. Pakhar weakened to a tropical storm before making landfall in southern Vietnam on Sunday on the coast, less than 100 kilometers of Ho Chi Minh City. At the time of landfall, highest sustained winds were about 40 miles an hour, or those of a minimal tropical storm, but still the first tropical storm of the season, or the typhoon, they call them out there. And the state of emergency declared in Fiji story. And that's about all new they've got going on. Over to the RSOE quick. Of course, they've got the Japan statewide freak low system rolling through their typhoon class winds. Got Vanuatu volcano is gearing up. Put up some new alerts with that. And what else? We had either space junk or a meteor burn up in the sky over San Antonio, Texas. Put on a big show about 11:30 or so at night. And again, it's either a space junk or a meteor, but a big streak of light through the sky kind of thing. And that's about all new they've got going on. I've got a lot of nuclear stuff going on today. I'm going to cover about 3 different sites, so bear with me. Let's start with ENE News. I'm just going to read the headlines. Scientists measured 2,000 trillion becquerels of cesium-137 in one study area. Would have been much higher, but radioactivity was transported away by the time of sampling. They're getting doctored numbers and still getting these numbers. Iodine-129, a growing radiological risk. 15.7 million year half-life. Almost undetectable. Traveled along with iodine-131 from Fukushima, and it concentrates in hot spots. Highest estimate yet. Fukushima about equal to Chernobyl, says U.S. government-funded study. Which means it's probably 100 times worse than that. Bunch of criminals. Japan government study shows radiation plume going to Hawaii. Fukushima contaminated water to hit in under 2 years. Ocean may be 50% of EPA's maximum contaminant level for drinking water. That is a severe understatement. You got to remember, this isn't just one release that happened over a year ago. This has been ongoing. So basically, Japan is this big radioactive tea bag, and the Pacific Ocean is becoming more and more and more contaminated and radioactive. And they found cesium in the kelp off the coast of California. But where was that on the mainstream news? Japan is on high alert for typhoon class storm. Fukushima Daiichi in the path Tuesday night. And you got to remember how fragile number 4 holding tank is for the fuel rods, and how that's crumbling already in good weather. What's 140 km/h winds and rain going to do towards that? Fukushima fallout in New Hampshire. Radioactive iodine at 12,000 atoms per square meter in sediment. They have the study on that. And that's about all new they've got going on. Over to Fukushima Diary, just covering their daily news. Cloud circle. This might be some weather manipulation going on. Tornado watch for eastern Japan according to rainfall. Thunder observations data of TEPCO. Rain fell in a circle about 130 kilometer radius, shape above Fukushima from 12:30 to 1800 local time. The center is near Fukushima plants for some reason, and the motion of the cloud is circular, especially when the storm rolled through, and they've got charts and pictures of that. You can kind of see what's going on with some crazy weather going on over Fukushima during this unusual typhoon type storm. Radioactive storm. Following this article, tornado watch for eastern Japan. The storm increased radiation level around in Kanto area, a bunch of different prefectures. Because the indoor dosimeters didn't show radiation level pickup, it is the rain and wind to increase the radiation level. And that's just basic science. It's in the air, it's in the trees, it's everywhere. And that's about all new they've got going on today. The last place I want to take you is EXSKF. It's a nuclear site. Disaster debris wide area disposal. United States military in Okinawa uneasy over Okinawa's willingness to accept and burn radioactive debris from the tsunami. Where's the other story? LDP politician demands government action against mayor of Sapporo, Hokkaido, who is against accepting disaster debris in his city. Upper House committee to take action against Sapporo mayor who refuses disaster debris. Remarks of the mayor were topic of the discussion during the intensive deliberation in the Upper House Budget Committee on April 2nd. Mayor Yuda has said he will refuse to accept a disaster debris from March 11th, 2011's earthquake tsunami, and I don't blame him one little bit. The Minister of Environment, Hansono, said, "We will explain to him again so that he understands." And he would request again that Sapporo City accept this debris. So basically, this mayor is under the gun. If he doesn't take this debris, they're going to get rid of him and get in somebody that will. The corruption is complete, total, and unfortunately, Agenda 21 is alive and well here in. Anyway, enjoy while you can, everybody. This is my kitty. Leave your comments or post your videos.
3-minute radiation fallout forecast for Monday, April 2nd, 2012. In Canada, radar imagery from Environment Canada and GOES Northern Hemisphere Composite places the following areas at risk for the next 48 hours. Along the British Columbia coast, from Thorne Bay through Vancouver and Surrey, and Winnipeg in Western Ontario. This may move into Sudbury over the next 36 hours. In the U.S., southern Alaska is being graced by the jet stream and Hawaii is clear, but over the next 48 hours the jet stream will cover the entire west coast of the U.S. into Baja. Heavy rain continues in the Seattle area. Scattered rain and snow is occurring from Colorado to New Mexico. Also, strong storms are moving north from Louisiana through Arkansas and towards the Ohio Valley. As high rad levels have been recorded recently along water vapor loops, this area and any others affected by these storms, which may produce hail and tornadoes, should be considered high risk. In Europe, a new problem from an out-of-control well in the North Sea may cause an air quality issue for Germany in the next 24 to 48 hours. Heavy rain is expected in southern Spain and Switzerland, and shifting air masses indicate less risk Monday through Tuesday a.m. for the UK, but in light of recent alpha and gamma detections, this risk will increase mid-Tuesday through Thursday. Links to EURDET monitors can be found at FukushimaFacts.com. Nuke report. St. Lucie, Florida, a manual reactor trip due to an uncontrolled cool down when a steam bypass control valve malfunctioned. This incident is under investigation. 9 Mile Point and Fitzpatrick, New York, are both having continued problems with their tone alert system. The cause is being investigated. With all their reactors running at 100%, this could be detrimental to the surrounding public. During emergency siren outages, the county emergency sirens, reverse 911, and route alerting where local law enforcement personnel are able to assist in all affected areas of the evacuation zone are available. Such a significant shift of manpower should be reported on mainstream. Please contact your local news to cover these stories and others when nuke plants malfunction near you. The U.S. Army reported a missing chemical agent detector camera left behind in Richmond, Virginia. A significant search failed to locate it. It contains a radioactive source of americium-241, a very unstable and radioactive gamma emitter. It is unlikely to cause permanent injury unless it is not safely managed or securely protected. This message has been brought to you by Radchick and the Orion Talk Radio Network. We care about you because your government doesn't. Stay safe.
Minister Yoshihiko Noda has instructed a minister to draw up new standards for nuclear safety. The standards are a precondition for restarting 2 reactors at a nuclear plant on the Japan Sea coast. The Nuclear Safety Commission is conducting stress tests on Japan's nuclear power plants. Last month, it favorably assessed the first round of stress tests on the reactors at the Oi nuclear plant in Fukui Prefecture. Noda and 3 ministers discussed the Commission's assessment. The ministers were briefed by the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency on the findings of its investigation into the nuclear crisis at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. Some of the ministers said the proposed safety standards are not clearly defined. Noda instructed Industry Minister Yukio Edano to come up with new standards for nuclear safety.
Even if we can confirm the safety of the plant, it will take some time to obtain residents' approval for restarting it.
Noda and the 3 ministers are to meet again later this week to discuss the necessary safety measures.
Northern Japan is bracing for stormy weather. A powerful low-pressure system is approaching the region after causing damage in many parts of the country. Three people were killed and at least 305 injured due to strong winds on Tuesday. The low-pressure system over the Sea of Japan has brought strong winds to both the west and east of the country. Wind speeds reached 130 kilometers per hour in a Tokyo suburb and 106 kilometers per hour in the center of the capital. The winds died down in the late evening, but rough seas along the Pacific coast are forecast for some time. The low-pressure system is affecting Niigata Prefecture on the Sea of Japan coast. Winds of up to 135 kilometers per hour were observed on Sado Island in Niigata on Tuesday night. The meteorological agency is urging people in northern Japan to stay indoors and watch out for gusts, high waves, and lightning.
Can you believe that? I'm not shitting you. That's how absurd it is.
Tokyo Electric Power Company has revealed that the March 11th damaged a critical
only a minor change in
nuclear fuel likely melting down.
is trying to identify the cause.
Also have been damaged by the quake. Nuclear fuel likely melted down. May also have been damaged by the quake. Nuclear fuel likely melted down. May also have been damaged by the quake. Nuclear fuel likely melted down. May also have been damaged by the quake. Nuclear fuel likely melted down. May also have nuclear fuel. Nuclear fuel likely. says the drop in pressure is consistent with analysis that the piping system was damaged. Nuclear fuel likely melted down. They also have been damaged plant's most important safety features.
Now, the utility has not yet found the cause of the stoppage. Only a minor risk of a new hydrogen blast.
It must be damaged.
Still unable to function in the system.
It must be damaged.
Playing a key role in the
Nuclear fuel must be damaged.
without external
Also, it must be damaged.
based on
Nuclear fuel must be damaged with analysis that the piping system has been damaged by the quick speed damage. They also have been damaged by the quick speed damage.
risk of a new hydrogen blast.
Seeds from plants in northeastern Japan have been donated to Britain as a reminder of last year's earthquake and tsunami. The Japanese embassy in Britain organized a donation ceremony at the Royal Botanic Gardens in London. About 100 people attended the event. They included British rescue workers who went to the disaster-hit areas and 2 school children who survived the tsunami. The children donated pine seeds. They're the same type as the only surviving pine on the coast of Rikuzen Takata in Iwate Prefecture.
We are very grateful to the British people for helping us out. We'd like to return the favor and do our best.
The coastal city was famous for its 70,000 pine trees. Only 1 tree survived and became a symbol of resilience for the local people. But it's been damaged by salt water. Conservationists have given up attempts to keep it alive. They're trying to preserve it by growing its cuttings. The participants also planted Zelkova trees, which has become the symbol of disaster-hit Miyagi and Fukushima prefectures.
I think the seed and the trees we've just planted are both symbols of hope.
The seeds will be kept at the garden's seed bank that was set up to preserve wild plants from around the world.
I appreciate the tenor of the conversations. I think it will actually yield results before the end of the year, and I look forward to continuing this dialogue in the months ahead. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, hello everyone. We're going to do another live report here. Actually, I'm on lunch break right now, so I thought we'd go ahead and get the daily out of the way, right? Actually, it's a pretty nice day here in Yokohama, except for there's a bit of a strong wind, but nothing like we dealt with the other day in Tokyo and Yokohama area. As you can see behind me there, I don't know how good the video picks that up, but we got cherry blossoms. Season's kicking in, and right here by the river we have a few nice looking cherry blossoms showing up there. So overall things are looking up here in Japan when springtime comes. You know, nice cherry blossoms, better weather, killer wind, not bad, right? But what we're going to talk about today is some good news that came out of TEPCO, an announcement they made recently. Not good for them, but I think it's a lot of people consider it good news. TEPCO has announced that since they've had all this debt and payout they have to do to take care of compensation and all the stuff they're doing at Fukushima, that employees will not be getting their summer bonus. Boo-hoo-hoo, TEPCO employees. I'm sorry. If you cry and whine about that and act like that's a horrible thing, I'm not on you with this one. Reason being, you know, of course they can't get summer bonuses out of TEPCO this year because they don't have the money, supposedly. The way that TEPCO's been asking the Japanese government for these huge loans, and basically TEPCO's pretty much a state-owned company at this point. Yeah, that's already bad enough. you know, you're the one that poisoned us, and now we're the ones paying for you. So yeah, I consider it to be good news. Good. Cancel all their summer bonuses, especially the guys at the top. They shouldn't get any type of bonus, man. I don't see how they've done anything to earn it, you know. And as far as the lower level employees not getting their summer bonuses, you know, I can kind of feel you on that one, but at the same time, I still can't justify you getting anything because, you know, I work for lots of companies. I've been around, you know. Corporate culture, the base corporate culture, doesn't change that much from industry to industry. And even the lowest level guy has at least a sort of an idea of what's going on in his company. Me, I have before, but currently, the company I'm in now, I'm not at a really high level in my company. You know, the company that, you know, provides money for me and all that. I used to be a bit higher up, but nowadays there's some restructuring. So I'm just, you know, another guy in a company. And even at the level I'm at, man, everybody pretty much knows you know, what's going on in the company. We may not know the exact details, but we can work it out. So I say even low levels employees, you're not immune from taking any blame. And yeah, you deserve to have your summer pension cut off as well. As a show of, if nothing else, as a show of good faith, that you believe that you will take responsibility for things your company's done, and you are willing to make a sacrifice. You will say, okay, I don't get a summer bonus because my company is basically fucked up big time. And to give anybody a summer bonus would look really bad. It'd be taking, basically at this point, the people's money and handing it out as bonuses, which is not going to be okay, of course, you know. At least, you know, I give them credit. At least they're doing a bit better about this than what the American banks did, the international banks did. When they got all those bailouts from the American government, the first thing they did was give each other, you know, multi-million-dollar bonuses and pat each other on the back. Said, job well done, we had a profitable year. Well, you made those profits, of course, because you stole that money, you hijacked it from the American people. And TEPCO's hijacked all this money from the Japanese people. And at least, you know, TEPCO's smart enough not to hand all that money they got over to bonuses. At least they have the common sense, you know. Somebody set somebody down and said, hey, man, the bonuses, they got to go this year. Whoa, what do you mean? Think about it, homie. You know, and basically probably that type of conversation. And they were, the guys who make decisions on these things were like, yeah, you're kind of right on that one. Maybe we should not give out bonuses this year, or at least this summer. So yeah, good on TEPCO. They made the right move finally. They finally did something that would not piss everybody off. Some common sense. Do I expect this common sense to continue? Hell no it won't. This is nothing more than a gesture. The guys at the top, they don't need the money. They don't need the bonus. It doesn't bother them to not get it. The lower level and mid-level people in the company, this is going to cut into them a little bit. This is going to hurt them. Of course, you know, the mid-level and low-level people don't make those type of decisions. It's the higher-level people. And of course, you know, the brass in TEPCO, man, they're rich. Look at all the money they made from nuclear power over the years, man. They made a fucking killing. And just personal benefits. You know, whatever their contract says with the company. Their base salary, bonus they've got over the year, fringe benefits, bribe, payoffs. Yeah, they've got rich. So, you know, like I said, in one sense I do feel sorry for the lower level people in the company because it is going to hurt them. I know what that's like not to get a bonus. I don't get bonuses so often. I know how it feels when I do get anything extra out of any company. You're thankful to have it, and it really makes a big difference in your finances. So yeah, those guys are going to suffer, but the guys at the top, they don't give a fuck about this. This is nothing more than a good decision, but for them this is nothing more than a PR opportunity. See, you know, they can say, well, see, we're not greedy. We didn't abuse the money the people gave us. You know, so they're covering their own ass on that, thinking that's going to be good enough, but sorry, Charlie. I don't think anybody's going to give you any more faith just because you cancel your summer bonuses. Doesn't make you any a better human being. Doesn't suddenly wash everything away at all. Home fry. All it does is make us see that there is some type of damn humanity inside of you. You do see common logical sense. You're not totally practicing cold-blooded capitalism with no morals. You know, I'm gonna have a seat, guys. Yeah, you know. So what I'm more curious about is to see future bonuses. Yeah, they're missing this round. But how many more rounds of bonuses? Typically in the, you know, give me a sec. Typically, well, here we go, struggling with that. Let's put this down again. Typically, you know, in a Japanese company, from what I understand, bonuses come usually about 3 to 4 times a year, seasonal, kind of. So, so this year alone, the people in the company have gotten at least one bonus in TEPCO, like a New Year's gift or something. You know, and last year they got all their bonuses, I'm assuming. So it's the first time since the Fukushima disaster happened that they have skipped their bonuses. They finally ran out of money or something, right? They finally didn't have enough money to spread around. If they really, you know, because I believe in looking out for the little guy. And if they really wanted to kind of give something to the lower, mid-level people who really didn't make some of the decisions that led to the disaster and the horrible situation we're dealing with now, they could have done is cut higher management and a VP and a board's pay and a certain percentage across the board. And they could have used that savings to give the mid and lower level people something. 10,000 yen bonus. I mean, that's not a lot, but it's something. And, you know, those type of people would have, in those positions would appreciate even 10,000 yen. I mean, they're probably used to a lot more, but that would have gave them something, you know, instead of damning everybody. But, you know, the up-and-ups in the corporate world, unfortunately, they just don't think like that. They just know how things work for them, you know. So, if we didn't want to damn all the other people in the company and just go after the guys that really fucked up, we could have done a percentage cut on everybody's pay in the upper management and the boards of directors and everything, the CEO, and gave all the lower people, you know, to be honest, they probably knew about some things, they covered up some things, they didn't speak up when they should have, but they're not really at fault. And they could have got something, you know. That's what I would have done. But of course, you know, very few people think and feel the way I do about business and how to carry yourself and the type of ethics. I'm really old school in the sense of ethics and things. I'm really strict on those things. I'm quick to call companies out on their shit, man. I've written articles on this. You know, the past year I've been pretty heavy on TEPCO because they're the biggest thing going on in Japan. The biggest scandal. There's others going on. But, you know, I can't catch everything, guys. Just remember that. I can't cover all the big things. The really important things going on in Japan. The things you need to pay attention to. And the things going on in America. You know, I stick a lot of my news reporting on Japan. And, you know, I do have a plan to do other topics. So, you know, that's just me. That's the whole thing going on right now. TEPCO, no summer bonuses for nobody. Get on ya. You know, get on ya, right? So, as always, this is me, Ryan. Today I'm in Yokohama. Beautiful day. Cherry blossoms are out a bit, but the wind is still kind of a bit strong. So, hope you guys enjoyed this, right? So, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, this is me, Ryan, here in Yokohama today.
If the spent fuel pool at reactor 4, no, not if, when the spent fuel pool at reactor 4 hits the ground, that is literally the end of Tokyo, Yokohama, and most of Honshu. There's no question about it. It has visually been observed to be leaning in the past month. It's obvious the thing is headed to the ground. What is TEPCO doing about it? Nothing. What is TEPCO? TEPCO is so worried about Fukushima. Every weekend, what do, Bill? How much work gets done on the weekend at Fukushima?
You told me this. I couldn't believe it. You told me this. They go home.
They go home. They take the weekend off. Nothing's going on at Fukushima on the weekends. That's how committed TEPCO is to preventing a further catastrophe. It's astounding. It truly is astounding, all of it.
More astounding is that the rest of the world is doing nothing to help the Japanese because it's going to poison us in North America, Europe, all the way around the world.
Every damn scientist, the best of the best from Europe, Russia, China, America, should be in Japan or studying this around the clock and making recommendations. They got to get not only outside the box, they got to get outside the planet to start thinking about this, or there isn't going to be any planet left. It's that bad. Right. The tonnage just in spent fuel pool number 4 is over 260 tons of rods, fuel rods. And remember, they were new ones. Most of them are used. This is what we're told anyway. They were MOX fuel rods in there. And when a fuel rod has lived its useful life, boiling water, it's far more dangerous than it was as a brand new fuel rod that first gets inserted into the reactor vessel. It's all nuts. We can look at this mystery black dust that has been found in a number of locations around Honshu. 1 million becquerels per kilogram in this black dust. Now, 500 becquerels per kilogram are said to be, quote, safe, although that's too much in my book. Any is too much, but 1 million becquerels a kilogram of cesium found in this mystery black dust. Nobody knows what this dust exactly is. Gunderson says 20% of all young Fukushima girls are headed for cancer. This is a tragedy, and nobody's talking about it over here.
Well, I'm sure it's going to be actually much higher than, because if you're, say, 60 or 70, you're more likely with the oxidative stress to have a heart attack or stroke. This is what happened after Chernobyl, is people didn't live long enough to have cancer. But if you don't have a heart attack or stroke caused by the oxidative stress to your artery walls, you're going to get cancer cell transformation.
However, if there's another earthquake and Building 4 collapses, which contains the cooling pool with fresh fuel, I'm going to evacuate my family from Boston.
We are so fucked.
Early last week, the government of Japan released its IAEA report on the event. The report indicates that all 3 reactors of the cores, to some degree, are ex-vessel. The NRC staff has contemplated this scenario for some time. Due to the duration of each of the reactors went without core cooling. However, it's still too early to tell, and we don't have specific evidence to show the exact condition and how much of any of the cores went ex-vessel in those 3 units. And it's important to realize that as more and more new information comes available, and I think this will continue for months to come, our understanding of the specific events and what actions need to be taken.
Are there any websites that you could suggest for people to visit?
Well, there's 2 that I like, and I visit several times a day. One is EX-SKF, and it's a Japanese website translated into English. And it's phenomenal. You know, all of them are outside the mainstream media. And the other one is ENE News, E-N-E News, one word. It has, they both have pretty good information. I always double check with other sources.
Hello?
Oh.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Arnie, and you've been doing great work, and we really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck in the future.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
It is the 6th of the 4th, 2012, and this is today's climate change update. Let's go ahead and get started on SOT.net. Fukushima's radioactivity found in California kelp. Kelp off Southern California was contaminated with short-lived radioisotopes a month after Japan's Fukushima accident. a sign that the spilled radiation reached the state's coastline, according to a new scientific study. Now, this is definitely a watered-down study. They didn't test for all the different isotopes, and the insanity continues. China builds scores of dams in earthquake hazard zones. More than 130 large dams built, under construction, or proposed in western China's seismic hazard zones could trigger disastrous environmental consequences, such as earthquakes and giant waves, finds a news report from Canadian watchdog group Probe International. Yeah, they are definitely, if they can extort it, they are. Dead catfish at Boone River mouth. Mystery surrounds the appearance of more than 100 dead catfish washed up at Boyne River mouth. Residents have been finding fish since Monday along the high tide line on the Boyne Island. Dead catfish were strewn everywhere, meters along the tide line from the morning before, and that is going into the Gulf of Mexico and the odd things that are going on there. Of course, they tested it. It's not back yet. Deadly bacteria lurk in Deepwater Horizon tar balls. Nearly 2 years after the Deepwater Horizon disaster gushed millions of barrels of oil into the Gulf of Mexico, tar balls from the spill still turn up in Alabama shores after storms. Now, one researcher is recommending that people steer clear of these tar balls after studies find them chock full of potentially deadly bacteria. Could this be Cynthia back to haunt us? And that's about all new they've got going on tonight. The only thing I really wanted to cover on the extinction protocol is London suffering through worst drought since 1884. The city of London has an underserved reputation as a rainy city with things to do. When the UK capital is as wet, a popular topic of conversation among tourists. But this year could see an image shattered in dramatic fashion, with much of the southeast England gripped in a serious drought currently after affecting about 20 million people. And you remember southern England's having the freak warm weather, and while Scotland was snowing. And we've got that big natural gas leak off the coast of Scotland as well. And that's about all new I want to cover on there tonight. Over to the RSOE. Snowstorm in the state of Bengal in India. Severe enough to have reports up. Alberta, Canada also reporting a severe snowstorm. Flash flooding in the state of Tennessee. And nuclear event in South Carolina. The Catawba nuclear power plant. Apparently they lost off-site power and had to switch over to emergency generators and that kind of thing, so they had to declare an unofficial emergency or whatever, the lowest one. My question is why are they building these things if they can't produce their own power? They got to have off-site power to operate. It's insane. And that's about all new they've got going on tonight, so let's go ahead and go over to the nuclear stuff. I got a lot of it. Ambassador Murata writes to the UN Secretary General, quote, "It's no exaggeration to say that the fate of Japan and the whole world depends on reactor number 4. Appeals for independent assessment team. This is the reactor storage pool that's leaning, and if that thing falls, there are tens of thousands of metric tons of hot MOX fuel, 40 years backload, waiting to spill into the Pacific Ocean and into the atmosphere, and all the madness that entails. They said it'd catch fire very shortly after it lost water containment. Head research, Boulder, Colorado, a hotspot for Fukushima fallout. None of the other U.S. or Canadian samples came close to Boulder's contamination, except Portland, which was even higher. Former Japan ambassador warns government committee a global catastrophe like we have never before experienced if number 4 collapses. Common spent fuel pool with 6,375 fuel rods in jeopardy. would affect us all for centuries. It already is. It already is. Beware spring maximum for radioactive fallout, because all these contaminated trees and leaves and the pollen's flying and the birds are singing and love is in the air. NOAA scientists, plumes from Asia contribute up to 20% of surface ozone pollution on the U.S. West Coast, closely related to radioactive fallout. Maximum at Los Angeles Basin Southwest. So all this crap blows over the Pacific Oceans, nothing to stop it, and ends up on the west coast of the United States, aka fallout. Report on CNN. Sounds unbelievable, but it's true. Japan is paying for travelers to visit Fukushima. $63 to share photos on Facebook, and $63 to answer 5 questions. Osaka Mayor, Japan will collapse if reactors are restarted hastily. Another news source, new safety standards for restarts written in just 2 days. The insanity continues. TEPCO gets government warning about radioactive leak from Fukushima Daiichi. At this time, we have reserved the right to not provide an English version due to potential misunderstandings. There's nothing to be misunderstood here. China syndrome. AP, U.S. blasts tsunami ghost ship with cannons. Sinks after multiple attempts. Huge column of smoke seen over Gulf. Was to be salvaged, but inspection showed the ship was not worth saving. Was it contaminated? I knew they rushed over there to put that fire out when it started smoking and blowing holes in the bottom of it. AFP fires radioactive fluid leak at French nuclear power plant, level 1 INES scale. Provisionally, they had a few small fires. Apparently 10 fire departments unit trucks were sent out to the situation. They're saying everything's under control, nothing to worry about. And this is in the Normandy, France area. Study author, California iodine 131, probably double or triple what we reported. I'm sure it's double or triple that, if not more. And nuclear expert, I should make it clear that if EPA safe drinking water doesn't apply to rainwater, EPA safe drinking water does not apply to rainwater. Nothing does, unquote. And that's about all I'm going to cover off of there tonight. There was a couple stories I wanted to cover on the ESKF blog site. Radioactive Japan, Kyoto City to test burn disaster debris. Anyway, despite the angry residents shouting down the national minister and local politicians at the JR Koto station the other day, Mayor Kyoto City has already made up his mind. He has sent an official letter to the Ministry of Environment saying the city is ready to accept disaster debris after conducting the burn test at the city's 3 incineration plants. What is this mysterious black residue all over Japan when they're burning shit in open incinerators? I wonder. And radioactive Japan, food items exceeding new safety limit of 100 becquerels per kilogram. They can't hide it. They can't stop it. Japan is this nuclear tea bag seeping into the Pacific Ocean. Enjoy while you can, everybody. Attach your comments or videos below. Thanks for listening.
On to the continuing nuclear crisis in Japan, a radioactive wave is headed toward the United States. Scientists with the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution are tracking debris from last year's Japanese earthquake and tsunami as it makes its way across the Pacific Ocean. That debris, which carries with it extremely high levels of radiation, is currently 186 miles off the coast of Japan and could start lashing the coast of the United States within the year, depending on the currents. Scientists are immediately concerned about marine life being hit with radiation levels millions of times above normal. But by next year, it'll be in our marine food supply, our rain, and our coastal waters. So more than a year after the Fukushima nuclear crisis began, the world is still suffering its effects, with more to come. But despite all that, the Japanese government is reportedly preparing to restart one of its nuclear reactors. This week, the Japanese Prime Minister will meet with cabinet officials to discuss turning on a nuclear reactor in western Japan that's been shut down since the Fukushima crisis began more than a year ago. So why hasn't the world learned the lessons of nuclear power yet, even as radioactive waste is headed toward the U.S. West Coast? Kevin Camps joins me now. He's the radioactive waste watchdog at beyondnuclear.org. Kevin, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom.
So what is going on here with the Japanese saying, I thought, last time we talked, in fact, I thought that the consensus in Japan was no nukes.
Well, there's strong citizen pressure to keep now 53 of 54 reactors in Japan shut down. There's only one operating commercial reactor in Japan. It's going to shut down in early May. Japan will be a nuclear-free zone, and it's because of the anti-nuclear movement of Japan, the common citizens of Japan who, because of Fukushima Daiichi, don't want those risks in their lives anymore. And what the government and the industry are worried about is if they enter the summer with no reactors online and people's lights are still on, the electricity supply is stable, the air conditioners are working, people are going to start to ask, why do we have these risks in our midst? So the federal government, as you said, is sending their Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry to Fukui Prefecture in western Japan to try to convince the governor there who wants
guys need a nuke.
Safety upgrades in place before the restart. That's kind of a reasonable request to just get out of the way. And the feds are hinting they may just override him at this point.
Whoa. Can these reactors be made safe?
No, I mean, if you lose electricity from the grid, if you lose the emergency diesels, as happened at Fukushima Daiichi, be it an earthquake and tsunami, be it some other natural disaster, Japan just in recent days was hit by another major storm. So there are many ways you can lose electricity to the safety systems, to the cooling systems.
Right.
And of course you've got...
It could be a tornado in the Midwest.
Floods in Nebraska last summer, which were much more serious than they ever let on at the time.
Yeah. This wave of radioactive waste, or what has become now this, I don't know the word, beachhead or whatever, this just plume, I guess is a pretty good word, that is coming off Japan and heading towards us. What is it? What does it mean?
Well, almost to the day a year ago, Tokyo Electric intentionally released 11,500 tons or 3 million gallons of radioactive water into the ocean on purpose. The federal government of Japan gave them permission. There's recent news media reports that it was under pressure from the United States government, and the excuse at the time...
Why?
The excuse at the time was that Tokyo Electric was out of storage space for radioactive water at the plant, and they had a lot more coming. They were trying to keep the reactors as cool as possible because of the meltdowns. They were clearing away less contaminated water to make room for much more contaminated water to come. That's the decision they made. And that plume, as you said, it's taken a year, but it's now reached Hawaii. Another year from now, it'll probably reach the west coast of the United States. And yes, those are our fishing waters, but the fish happen to move around. There are species of tuna that spend part of their life cycle on the Japanese northeast coast, and they have migrated to the United States already. So where is the food monitoring program? There is no post-Fukushima food monitoring program in place. It was quickly dismantled. We're back to pre-Fukushima radiation monitoring, which could miss a lot.
Get to Amazon.com right now and buy a Geiger counter? Is that our food monitoring program? You're on your own, Charlie?
In Japan, I just met a woman in New York City who's now an anti-nuclear activist, and her sisters, her nieces and nephews are monitoring their own food, monitoring the food at the elementary school, and bringing in Fukushima refugees. Amazing. So the people of Japan have been thrown onto their own resources to protect themselves.
And the people of the United States, apparently?
Very much so. We see that up and down the West Coast, people getting radiation monitors, even to the point of checking their own food supply.
Yeah. I actually bought, in fact, I brought it in one of the times you were here on the show. You visited the Fukushima plant back in 2010. We just have 20, 30 seconds left. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's a dead zone where I went to, and the wonderful people I met are scattered to the wind across Japan and other countries. I also visited Fukui. I went to a 1,200-year-old Buddhist temple, and they have been a strong leader in the resistance to those reactors that now are slated for restart.
That's great. Kevin, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
It's always great to see you, even though it's rough news. I appreciate it. It's time for a worldwide ban on the most expensive and the most dangerous form of electricity generation on Earth, nuclear power. No nukes.
All right, hello there, everyone. This is the Ghost Layers Live here in Yokohama today. We're on Ustream. So, welcome everyone. If you tune in, happy to see you. If you don't, you probably should. Alright, so today, I'll bring up a bigger question. A question, that doesn't get asked enough, and when it does, it's not really, doesn't interest me too much when I do. But, does nuclear power have a future in Japan? Can it continue to operate as an industry? Can they continue to have nuclear power plants here? Very big question, very good question. It is confusing for me to really tell if Japan will actually pull this off and totally do away with nuclear power, because there's a big push from the Japanese public. Wait a minute. Yeah, I'm in an area where there's a lot of motorcycles, scooters and shit. Anyways, because like I said, there's a big push from the Japanese people to end nuclear power. It's not just Occupy Tokyo. It's a lot of people I talk to. I'm a teacher, so every day I'm talking to students, and they talk about it from time to time, because it's a pretty big issue going on. And all of them are pretty much, except for a few, they're pretty much anti-nuclear, and they don't want nuclear power anymore. And as of right now, there's only, I believe, one nuclear reactor actually up and running in Japan and producing power and electricity for the country. And in May, that one goes down. So we're looking at the prospect of the majority of 2012 being totally nuclear power free in this country. But there's a catch to that. I believe it's KEPCO, which is down in Kansai area. I believe it's them that said it. It might have been another smaller power company that has a couple of reactors. They've said as soon as the last one shut down, they got plans to turn on some other ones. So, will they actually do that? That remains to be seen. I think whether Japan will remain nuclear free or not depends on a little bit of economics, which I think do need to be talked about. It's not just the emotional issue or the clear massive damage that Fukushima nuclear power plant has created. It's a little bit of economic as well. And there's a few things I've noticed what they've been doing to keep us in enough electricity while these reactors are shut down. Number one, they've been using a lot more natural gas to provide energy, which has come out. TEPCO has said it's a bit of a problem for them because their gas plants have not really been updated and maintained very well because of all the nuclear power they've been cranking out. And say a lot of those gas plants are starting to reach capacity for what they can do. Without the necessary updates being done to them, they're going to reach their max in the next few months for what they can actually produce. That's going to be a bit of a problem because back in January, Japan had its first trade deficit in decades due to the offsetting in the market of having a lack of nuclear power and that being offsetted by a lot more natural gas imports. And natural gas has proved to be a bit high and a bit of shock to the market because it's not used to having that much natural gas imported in. So a lot of companies have not been making deals and things from companies from other countries get the natural gas in, so the price is a bit higher than expected. Because another guy. Yeah, there are a couple of guys down there starting up the bikes. It's going to get a little loud here in a second. But it's a big city, okay? So, Yokohama's a big city. Not big as Tokyo, but still rather large. So, it gets noisy sometimes here in the metro area. So we'll just have to deal with that while we're doing this. So if you have trouble or take issue with all the noise, remember I am in a large city doing this on the street live. But yeah, that's we'll get back to the natural gas thing. I can buy that one economically. I can kind of see that. That is going to be a bit of a problem. Unless two things can be dealt with. Number one, these companies that rely on natural gas to produce energy, TEPCO, KEPCO, and a handful of other private guys running their own little small operations, are going to have to work out better deals with the distributors and the importers of natural gas to get the price down. And they can do that if they're shrewd enough. I mean, these companies are going to know demand for natural gas is going to be pretty high if the nuclear reactors don't get restarted. So they're going to be tough to negotiate with because of that high demand. But if the supply is there, you can get your price down a little bit if you negotiate. So that'll be one way to kind of deal with it, to prevent another trade deficit. So Japan has kind of evened out their trade deficit since January, but it's going to come up again when he's with other factors in the market. So they have to do that. Number two, the biggest thing is going to be the infrastructure for natural gas. Yeah, I can... Pretty believable, you know, when TEPCO says that the power plants have not been updated and maintained in a way that can handle the need. And the plants are probably reaching capacity. That's probably true. I mean, when I look at, 30%, I believe it was around 30% of the country's energy supply was coming through nuclear power, and suddenly that's gone. Yeah, you probably haven't been keeping your natural gas plants on the up and up because you haven't had them, hadn't needed to keep them at max capacity or at a higher capacity than what's needed or what's normal for the past several decades, since nuclear power became a major source of energy for the country. So what they're going to have to do is update those natural gas plants, definitely. Which that's going to be tricky because that will require reducing down the amount of power those plants produce and shutting some of them down to transition over to using more natural gas to make up for the lack of nuclear. Now, let's talk about a hard decision there. So let's say that we go with updating the natural gas plants and even a bit more controversial, but even restarting some of the clean coal plants where they basically collect the burn off and let that dust settle and re-burn that and re-burn down the waste until it's pretty much nothing. It still produces pollution because it is coal, but it's done in a bit more economical way. They make more profit that way by re-burning the spent dust that comes off from the burn. So they'll have to restart some of those. Now that could offset the demand for energy when you have to shut down the gas plants to update them. So you could help there by temporarily restarting some of your coal plants. That would help. And another option, this would be the hard option, would be you would have to restart some of the reactors. I know we don't want to do that. That's something that, is really emotional to do, but if we're going to transition away from it, we need a stopgap in between. And it may come down to restarting a few reactors. Not all of them. I say just a few. Because a nuclear power plant can produce a lot of energy. Really quick, too. So if we can prove some of them are really safe and really good, we may want to consider temporarily restarting some reactors during a transition away from it. Because this has kind of come suddenly on Japan. It's not like Germany, where they're totally doing away from nuclear power and they have a set, gradual goal. It's not an emergency situation. So unlike Germany, Japan doesn't have the convenience of time on their hand. There's extremely hard pressure coming from the people to get out of nuclear power. So we may have to end up starting a few, which I don't want. But if we go the natural gas route and the option I just explained by using clean coal for a little while, updating the natural gas plants, you may have to restart some of the reactors. It's just a cold, hard fact of it. But, you know, I'm just one guy, and I'm just looking at it from a libertarian standpoint, economical standpoint. How we could actually pull this off and get out of this damn nuclear power business. Alright, so we've done about a little over 10 minutes now, so we'll go ahead and wrap this up, everyone. Thank you for checking this out. If you watched it live, thank you. If you've watched this later on Ustream, recorded or an edited, nice little more packaged version on YouTube, thank you very much. Please check out the Ustream channel. We'll provide a link here somewhere when I get this edited ready for YouTube, and check out the YouTube channel as well. There's some other stuff on there that's pretty cool. It's Freedom WV. So, as always, guys, thank you so much for checking this out. And until next time, this is Ryan here in Yokohama today. Check it out.
This is your 3-minute radiation fallout forecast for the weekend of April 6, 2012. In Canada, light to moderate rain is forecasted for southern Saskatchewan and north of Quebec City. Water vapor analysis and jet stream forecasts identifies the area of highest concern as southern Saskatchewan from Saskatoon south to the U.S.-Canadian border. Vancouver may see rain Friday p.m. and should consider any precipitation as high risk as well. In the U.S., IntelliCast radar shows rain-snow mix across the northwest, including Montana and the Dakotas. As jet stream and troposphere coincide with this area, it should be considered high risk as well as any rainfall on the west coast of California over the weekend. The rain in the Carolinas and South Florida is moving offshore. In Europe, there are several issues in Europe that are ongoing besides the fallout risk from Fukushima. A French reactor on the north coast had 2 fires in the past 2 days. The methane well in the North Sea continues to release large clouds of methane gas and will probably be an ongoing problem for several months. As a large portion of Europe is expecting rain over the next 72 hours, it is advisable to treat all precipitation as high risk, and this is especially important for the areas of the southern UK and London, as well as France, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, which are in the direct path of the well emissions and water vapor loops through the weekend. Nuke report. The BBC is reporting the Penly reactor fire in France is extinguished. The NRC event page in the U.S. has the following problems listed. Fort Calhoun, Nebraska. 21 out of 101 emergency sirens are malfunctioning again. Oconee, South Carolina. The plant is in standby as a worsening coolant leak is repaired. The plant is currently in an unanalyzed condition that significantly degrades plant safety. This applies to Reactor 2. It's a significant concern and should be covered by local media. In Farley, Alabama, an operator mistakenly failed to start a diesel generator during a surveillance test. The unit is currently refueling. And in Catawba, South Carolina, an emergency was declared from an unusual event due to dual unit loss of off-site power. Note, this is the second serious condition on the same day in South Carolina from 2 different plants. If you have a safety or security concern or are a reporter covering these stories for local news, please call the NRC at 800-695-7403. You may check the status of these plants at the NRC event notification page on the Internet. Next week, Nuked Radio will continue on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. Please join us and the other hosts on Orion if you want to know the real news. This message has been brought to you by Radchick and the Orion Talk Radio Network. We care about you because your government doesn't.
The operator of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant says more contaminated wastewater has leaked from the facility into the sea.
This shows bad crisis management.
The water contained high levels of radioactive strontium. Workers discovered water leaking from a pipe connected to a wastewater tank on Thursday. Workers closed some valves and the leakage stopped half an hour later.
The system is pointless if it doesn't work at the crucial moment.
A spokesperson for Tokyo Electric Power Company says about 12 tons of wastewater had leaked from a disconnected pipe joint. He says the company believes that a large portion of the water flowed into the ocean through a nearby drainage ditch.
First your ass is backed up, now the toilet's backed up, and if you're not going to have the right attitude about it, fuck it, I'll just shit on you.
The utility is trying to determine how the joint became disconnected and how much water reached the sea. Radioactive wastewater also leaked last month from a different section of the same system of pipes. Last December, water leaked from another device within the plant compound. In both cases, the wastewater is believed to have flowed into the sea.
Makes me so happy to know someone cared enough to do this for us.
Prime Minister Noda held intense discussions with 3 of his cabinet ministers about restarting 2 nuclear reactors in Japan. Currently, only one of the country's 54 reactors is running. Noda and his ministers basically approved a draft of new, stricter safety standards for nuclear plants.
It was drawn by school children in Kobe.
Meeting these standards would be a precondition for restarting reactors.
Will be briefed by the industry minister regarding a draft of new, stricter safety standards. Then we'll have thorough discussions.
Oh my God, no way.
This is the second meeting Noda and the 3 ministers have had on this issue. Industry Minister Yukio Edano briefed the group on the draft standards. The rules include steps to secure power sources in emergencies and make nuclear plants tsunami-proof.
This is the craziest thing. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen right now.
The Prime Minister told Edano to draft the standards ahead of the decision to restart 2 of the reactors at the Oi nuclear plant in Fukui Prefecture. He and the ministers will meet again Friday. Chief Cabinet Secretary Osamu Fujimura says the new safety standards would also be applied to decide whether other reactors should resume operations.
The planned standards would not be temporary, but new criteria. They would be a major index in deciding whether to restart a reactor. We might consider making them legislation eventually.
What is going on over there?
Debris from the earthquake and tsunami in Japan last year is a huge problem, and it may soon be a headache in other countries too. Japanese scientists say debris washed out to sea is approaching North America.
Japanese government officials are getting ready to retest a public warning system.
Japanese government officials say an estimated 1.5 million tons of debris is drifting on ocean currents. They asked scientists to estimate how it's being spread by ocean currents and the wind. The simulation shows parts of half-submerged objects such as fishing boats and buoys may have neared North America in February. It suggests heavier objects will get there this October. The simulation shows more than 40,000 tons of debris will likely arrive within 10 kilometers of the North American shoreline around February next year. Japanese government officials plan to talk with officials in affected countries about ways to clean it up.
The system failed in a test earlier this week.
Authorities in France say an accident at one of the country's nuclear facilities won't pose a threat to the environment. A fire broke out Thursday at the Pangli plant, triggering a leak of radioactive water. Spokespersons for France's nuclear safety agency say a puddle of oil on the floor of a reactor building is behind the fire. Safety devices automatically shut down the unit. Emergency workers put out the flames. One of them reportedly suffered minor burns. Investigators found radioactive coolant had seeped from a pump joint. Plant operators say they've plugged the leak and mopped up the contaminated water.
I feel encouraged to know that they share the pain of the children.
us. That's all we got is Fukushima blues. Singing that Fukushima blues. And that was the Fukushima blues. Let me get rid of this before something else starts playing on here. What I'd like to do one day, I'll play a backing with that pomp and playback. I subscribe to him before. I talked to him before. He'll have to come up with something and we'll write a song about this whole situation. Oh yeah, the Fukushima Blues. So there it is. It's going to be published and it'll be on, that's the name of it, Fukushima Blues. It's blues in G. So there. So no one can take it. There you go. You know, I can't believe how Sony and, well, Universal and NBC, I believe it is, so one of them, someone keeps flagging everything. Oh, this is property. We'll be right back after these capitalist messages.
Goes into my mouth when I hit that button.